When the homeowners stood united and confronted the HOA, it wasn't just about the rules anymore, it was about respect. The uprising had made headlines across the neighborhood, and even local news started covering it. Cameras caught the faces of ordinary residents who had finally said, "Enough." But when the noise faded and the protest signs were taken down, the real challenge began: rebuilding what was left of their community. The HOA board was shaken. Some members resigned under pressure, while others doubled down, refusing to admit any wrongdoing. The once pristine lawns and quiet streets now carried an invisible tension. Neighbors who had once waved at each other now avoided eye contact, unsure who had been on which side of the conflict. For many, the uprising had been liberating, a long overdue stand for fairness. But for others it was chaos. Meetings that were once dull and procedural turned into shouting matches. Every new proposal was seen through a lens of suspicion. Trust, once broken, proved much harder to restore. The homeowners who had led the movement faced unexpected consequences. Some received anonymous letters accusing them of dividing the community. Others saw subtle retaliation, extra inspections, delayed approvals, or sudden fines. It seemed that while the HOA had changed on paper, the culture of control still lingered in the shadows. One homeowner, Lisa, who had spoken boldly during the protests, said it best: "We won the right to speak, but not everyone is ready to listen." Her words reflected the bittersweet aftermath, progress mixed with pain. Freedom was finally within reach, but unity had been the cost. The new interim board tried to fix things. They introduced transparency meetings, open voting systems, and monthly newsletters explaining every decision. For the first time, residents could actually see where their money was going. But not everyone trusted the change. Some residents whispered that it was too little, too late. A former HOA member, Frank, decided to attend one of the open meetings. He stood up and said, "You can change the rules, but if you don't change the mindset, nothing will change." His words echoed in the room, leaving a heavy silence behind. The truth was undeniable. The fight wasn't just about policy. It was about people learning to work together again. Months passed, and slowly, small victories began to appear. The community garden that was once banned now blossomed with life. Children played in the streets without fear of letters appearing in their parents' mailboxes. Holiday decorations returned, not as acts of rebellion, but as signs of renewed spirit. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Still, some old wounds refused to heal. A few residents who supported the previous board moved away, claiming the neighborhood had lost its standards. Others stayed but distanced themselves, unwilling to let go of the bitterness. Change, it turned out, came with a price, and that price was division. One evening, as the sun set over the cul-de-sac, the new board president walked through the neighborhood. He noticed something he hadn't seen in years: people talking on their porches, laughing and helping each other fix fences. For the first time, he realized that leadership wasn't about control. It was about connection. Meanwhile, a group of residents created an online community page, a space to discuss ideas, raise concerns, and celebrate wins. It quickly became the heartbeat of the neighborhood. Birthdays were shared, garage sales were announced, and for the first time, neighbors began to feel like a family again. But just as things started to improve, a new issue emerged: the budget crisis. The HOA's finances had been mismanaged for years under the old board, and now the community faced a massive repair bill for the shared facilities. Once again, the residents were forced to make tough choices: increase fees or let the community deteriorate. The debate reignited tensions. Some argued that higher fees would betray the spirit of the movement. Others believed sacrifice was necessary for the future. The same unity that had fueled the revolution now began to fracture under financial strain. The board held emergency meetings late into the night, searching for solutions that would keep everyone together. Eventually, compromise won. Residents volunteered their time and skills. Electricians, carpenters, landscapers, all came forward to restore what they could. It became a symbol of hope, a reminder that when people work for a shared goal, they don't need authority to create progress. By the end of the year, the neighborhood looked different, not just physically but emotionally. The lawns were still neat, but now they were personal. Decorations reflected individual joy rather than collective conformity. The HOA, once feared, had become more of a guide than a ruler. The transformation wasn't instant, but it was real. A reporter who had covered the original uprising returned to film a follow-up piece. He asked one of the homeowners, "Do you think it was worth it?" She smiled softly and said, "We lost some things along the way, but we gained our voices. That's worth more than any perfect lawn." In the end, the uprising was never just about rules or power. It was about reclaiming what it means to live freely, not in defiance, but in dignity. The community learned that change doesn't end when the shouting stops. It begins in the quiet moments afterward, when people choose to listen, to forgive, and to rebuild together. As the episode closes, the narrator's voice fades with a single thought. Freedom isn't given by rules. It's earned by people brave enough to question them. The screen fades to black, leaving the audience with one question. What kind of neighborhood do we truly want to live in?